Hey guys, this is Zach with the Too Heavy Wrestling Podcast, and this is another episode of the 30 Days of WrestleMania. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the first of the two triple threat tag team matches between Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boyz, and the Hardy Boyz at WrestleMania 2000. Now, earlier in the series, we had talked about the second of the two matches that happened 1 year later at WrestleMania 17, but this was the first of the two, and what had ultimately led to them even having another match at the next year's WrestleMania is how good this match was that was happening at WrestleMania 16. The Dudley Boyz were coming in as champions for this match, and ultimately, this was a super fun match, and it was one of the first of its time. Yes, they've had, other hardcore matches and everything like that, before all this, but these guys revolutionized what it was to be in that type of match moving forward. And ultimately, again, I think that's why they ended up getting a second match at the next year's WrestleMania, just because of how good this one was and the chemistry that these three tag teams had. And you get them talking a lot about this now, Bully Ray, Bubba Ray, whatever you want to say. He talks about this a lot whenever he brings these matches up, when he brings the matches that any of these tag teams had against each other. They made each other in the WWE, and if they didn't have each other, they wouldn't be in the spots that they were in now. Funny enough, going back to watch this match and knowing what happens in the second match with Edge and Jeff Hardy, with Edge spearing Jeff Hardy off of the belts, but he was dangling in the second match. We got a very similar spot in the first match with Edge spearing Jeff just off the ladder, which is, of course, a good contrast. And when I talk about WrestleMania in the past, I've always talked about how these matches are very good year-over-year contrasting matches to see where these groups, where these tag teams, where the individuals go. And that right there was kind of just like turning the page and seeing the next chapter right there. And they one-upped it with that. And I think that was the goal from the day that happened. And of course, with this match, we've had, they did a lot of spots. Matt Hardy getting powerbombed through a table outside by Bubba Ray. You had the ending of the match where Matt Hardy was actually very close at obtaining the titles, was the sole person up there on top of the, at that point, the table that was across two ladders, and it turned to Edge and Christian coming up there together to throw him off, to then fall through another table, and Edge and Christian ultimately pulled down the titles, with Bubba Ray looking on from the outside of the ring in disbelief. But Edge and Christian were then your new tag team champions. But, again, the year-over-year contrasting between that match to the one they had just a year later, you can definitely tell that they had inspired from the first match, which is the one that we're talking about this time on this episode here. But I want to hear your thoughts. What is a match that you can go back at WrestleMania that had a number 2 to it? So not just one match, but a second one that you can tell definitely took parts from the first one and also made better memories in the second one. But again, my name is Zach with the Too Heavy Wrestling Podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks, guys.